4:30 PM executive session and a 5:30 PM regular meeting. We'll start with our pledge allegiance and salute to the New Mexico flag, acknowledgement of tribal land, and then approval of our agenda. We acknowledge that our Board of Education meeting is taking place on occupied indigenous land. We acknowledge the Tesuque Pueblo lands and other tribal lands on which we stand. We honor these people, past, present, and future. We acknowledge the history and ongoing colonization of where we are sitting right now in New Mexico and in our country. We acknowledge our own place in the story of colonization. Okay, thank you. Approval of the agenda. Dr. Garcia, are there any changes to the agenda?
Not that I am aware of, Mr. President.
Okay, anything from the board?
Mr. President, I know in the past sometimes we've moved, when we have presentations from our bond people, that sometimes we move those up, but if we don't need to do that, I move approval of the agenda as it is.
Okay, then we will.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Executive session, Dr. Gonzalez.
I'd like to move us into executive session where we're going to discuss threatened or pending litigation, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-H. D. Rugerio, Board of Education of Santa Fe Public Schools, 124 CV 00380 KK JFR. And Rogers versus Board of Education of Santa Fe Public Schools, 124-CV-262-KRS-LF.
We have a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We will be in executive session. going to be for Dr. Garcia. She might think so, though.
Carmen, did you leave your purse in there? No? Was that in? Where's Sarah?
A little more detailed on that topic that we'll discuss today.
Okay, great.
Remember, you get extra points for staying within your time limit
Yes.
because they got a long meeting tonight,
Yeah.
okay? Thank you, darling.
Just more information on one of the.
Lynn, do you want me to get your purse?
Okay, Dr. Gonzalez, can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
Yes, I move that we come out of executive session where we discuss threatened or pending litigation, NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H7. We discuss D. Ruggiero y Board of Education of Santa Fe Public Schools, 124-CV-00380-KK-JFR. We also discussed Rogers versus Board of Education of Santa Fe Public Schools, 124-CV-262-KRS-LF. No action was taken.
Okay, I have a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, so that brings us to our regular meeting agenda. Item 3 is introduction of interpreter.
Para asistencia de traducción en español, la señora Rivera te ayudará.
Thank you. Public forum.
Board President Abeta, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Garcia, we have 4 in-house speakers today, and we have 1 email. I'm going to go over the Board of Education Public Forum ground rules. Public forum includes online and or virtual participation as needed, as well as in-person comments when the board holds in-person meetings. Please listen and speak with respect. No uncivil conduct will be permitted. Please do not discuss any specific students who is not your own. No sharing of time. Self-monitor and observe the 3-minute time limit. You will receive a 30-second warning when your time is almost up. Public commentary and dialogue are allowed only during the public forum, not throughout the meeting. Please search for answers on common ground. You may speak on any topic, whether it's on the agenda or not. Your input will be taken into consideration. Please be advised that the board may discuss your issue during the meeting, but by law, the board cannot take action on items that are not on the agenda. Please do not discuss employee matters which may result in disciplinary action. Instead, notify the employee's supervisor, the Human Resources Department, or the superintendent. Also, each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. I will give them a 30-second warning. First up is David Forrester.
I'm Dave Forrester, a STEM teacher at Mandela International Magnet School, and I'm one of the teachers being recognized this evening. I appreciate this acknowledgement, especially when SFPS has such a depth of hardworking, talented teachers, so many of whom are equally worthy of recognition. I'm here to thank you for the upcoming facility work on Mandela, but also to draw your attention to the fact that more work remains to be done. In 2024, U.S. News and World Report ranked Mandela as one of the top 500 public high schools in the nation. This year, 100% of our seniors attempted 1 or more IB exams, and many of them will receive passing scores. Because of this performance over the last several years, U.S. News and World Report ranks Mandela as the 26th best school in the country on its College Curriculum Breadth Index out of over 17,000 public schools. And this puts us at the number one school in the state on this index. There is so much to be proud of at Mandela, but there is more we can do given the chance. Mandela just celebrated its 10th year in operation, and for the entire time we've been waiting for our Forever facility. Current plans called for the continued use of 4 portable classrooms for the indefinite future. This plan has fewer classrooms than we have teachers. It's frustrating to read about the plans to right-size other facilities in the 2025 Go Bond cycle. Other sites leapfrogging Mandela in getting new, correctly sized buildings. I have been at a portable at Mandela for the last 6 years. They're not hardened like the rest of the building. They don't have rhino locks. In fact, they can have rhino locks. When a lockdown drill takes place, my students have to head outside and practice running into the cafeteria in the main building. There's a plan to incorporate portables into the new school facility, but no plan to phase them out and replace them with permanent classrooms. We've been told there is no room in the 2025 Go Bond to finish building our campus, and our campus will remain unfinished with portables on site until the 2030s at the soonest. We currently have a historic building on campus, La Goite building. This building was worked on by both W.C. Kruger and John Gaw-Meem, 2 of New Mexico's most famous architects. Because it has historic protection, it will not be torn down. It's already attached to the part of the current building that will be kept, and it is exactly the size we need to phase out portables. Its incorporation into the remodel and new construction is the best option for a sustainable, permanent campus for Mandela. Right now, we're told it will be mothballed and unusable for us forever. There is no long-term plan or timeline for a completed Mandela facility. None of that has been communicated to the Mandela leadership team or our families. This needs to be corrected. It needs to be clear exactly how Mandela fits into the reimagined educational landscape of SFPS. And Mandela stakeholders deserve a clear understanding of how it will look when we have a permanent facility and what that means for our enrollment and our future. I look forward to your future conversations with our school stakeholders. 14 years is too long to make a school wait for an adequate and safe building. It's too long to make a school community wait to hear what its future holds. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Samantha Valenzuela.
Good evening, Dr. Garcia, Board President, Abeta, and members of the board. My name is Samantha Valenzuela. I have been an IBA at Santa Fe High for the past 6 years. I am here this evening to speak about some concerns I have about the leadership at Santa Fe High. For the past couple of months, there have been several false accusations about myself and another IBA brought to our directing principal, Jamie Chavez. They have brought me into meetings to get my feedback, only to have documented facts dismissed and the false accusations taken as gospel truth. There was one specific instance where I was accused of not doing my job on a day that I was not even at work. When I mentioned it to Ms. Chavez of my absence on that day, she said, the date didn't matter. I feel that I am being targeted by the school administration for bringing up being paid overtime for bus duty. Since January of 2025, the principals at Santa Fe High have had to relieve the IBAs for afternoon bus duty since our contract ends at 4:05. SPED students have had to wait for buses as late as 5:30. I realize we are at the end of this school year, but these last few months have been very mentally and emotionally draining. I have been told that working together with a coworker and carrying a notebook to document my daily activities also offends staff members. I have requested to be moved into the medically fragile classroom to avoid further interaction and possible disciplinary action, but that request still remains unanswered. At this point in time, I am afraid to finish out the last few days of my contract because I feel this pattern of behavior from the admin at Santa Fe High could possibly jeopardize my job even more with more false accusations. I question whether I should come here tonight, but I felt that it was best to advise the board of the undue stress Santa Fe High School admin has placed upon myself and other staff members. Morale is low, and there are exceptional qualified staff members leaving Santa Fe High by transfer or other outside jobs. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Gail Hansen.
Good evening, board members, Board President Abeta, and Dr. Garcia. My name is Gail Hansen. As of January 31st, I have been reaching out to members of the leadership team to resolve a district error. On May 22nd of 2024, I applied for a secretarial position at Santa Fe High School, which the district listed as a 9-month position on the SFP website, which I do have a copy of. On January 31st, 2025, I met with former Superintendent Chavez, and during our discussion about the 9-month position, he invited HR Director Jeanette Fonseca to the meeting and advised her of the situation. He then advised her to look up the job posting I applied for, the title, the length of contract time, so we could move forward on this. He said either her or Annalise would be in touch, and if I had not heard from them, to reach out to him. On February 18th, February 23rd, and March 7th, I sent emails to members of the leadership team of items that needed to be resolved, but they did not get resolved. I got tired of being ignored and had to file a level grievance 1 on April 14th. Deputy Superintendent Romero responded to my level grievance 1 about the 9-month contract. She admitted that the district did make an error and apologized for it, but no resolution was made. Shortly after that, I had a brief conversation about the 9-month contract with the interim superintendent, Veronica Garcia, and she advised me that Howard Eckner would be in contact. In May, I had 2 conversations with Mr. Eckner, and he sent me 2 emails on this matter. In brief, an email he sent me stated that I would work till close of business on May 23rd, which was my compromise, and be placed on unpaid administrative leave for the approximate 2 weeks after May 23rd, so that I would not have to finish out a 10-month contract that I did not apply for or get hired for. This compromise was only one-sided, with me agreeing to work 2 weeks past what should have been my last contractual day of May 12th and working till May 23rd. Then they would place me on unpaid administrative leave through June 6th. I feel as if I'm being reprimanded with unpaid administrative leave and a loss of wages, while the district remains blameless. It was to their credit that Ms. Vanessa Romero and Mr. Eckner did admit to the error the district made regarding the 9-month length of contract for the job posting 7017 I applied and was hired for, and Ms. Romero did apologize. However, from the Board Policy 201, Code of Ethics, Letter D and L, and the CBA Article 6, Paragraph 7, I feel the district should adhere to their own board policies and the CBA and honor the 9-month contract that was posted on the SFP website with no unpaid administrative leave or loss of wages to myself. Thank you.
And our last in-house speaker is Kobe Hansen.
Side note, Mr. Forrester, it was? I can't believe they still haven't gotten you guys a permanent home. I came to this board 14 years ago and argued the same thing when they were sharing the site with DeVargas. You guys, I don't think were here then. It was fun. I'm just here to kind of clean up a little bit. You guys heard some stuff with board policies. I'm sure most people in here have never read the board policies, didn't know that we had board policies, didn't know that they existed. I'm sure that a lot of you guys have read them, hopefully fairly familiar with them. I'd just like to read a couple of them, if I could, please, to provide a little bit of clarification for some of the other things that were said. Board Policy 201, page 2, letter L. Provide applicants seeking information about a position with an honest description of the assignment, the conditions of work, and related matters. In another paragraph, letter D, adhere to and respect the conditions of a contract, which all employees sign, or to the terms of an appointment until either has been terminated legally or by mutual consent. So they need to be held accountable for the contracts that they've made, even if they make a mistake on it. It's like if you go to the store and you buy something and they got the wrong price on the shelf, the store has to honor that wrong price. Another one, Code of Ethics 201, page 3. All employees of the district shall conduct themselves in a manner that serves as positive role models. This is something totally different because, I'm sorry, but Santa Fe High right now is a dumpster fire. The administration there is literally chasing people away. And it's disheartening. It's sad. Speaking of the administration there, all employees of the district shall conduct themselves in a manner that serves as a positive role model for students and shall maintain the highest standards of conduct and ethics at all time. There have been so many lies coming out of that directing principal's office, it's not even funny. What I'm hearing from my wife and others, because I am involved at that school still. Last, professional conduct, board policy 202, page 2 of 3, number 7. This is talking about employees. They shall not knowingly make false or derogatory personal comments about an educational colleague, which I feel that Ms. Valenzuela that spoke a while ago has had tons and tons of false information, lies, allegations thrown at her from either staff and students that I feel have been coached because they're special ed kids. I'm not saying that to be derogatory, but there are things that they would not come up with on their own unless they were coached by an adult. She's being attacked. Basically, her job is being threatened, and I don't think it's right. Thank you.
Okay, and we have our one email. It's from Christopher Lopez. Good morning. Please see my submitted public comment for tonight's board meeting. My name is Chris Lopez, and I am the principal at Gonzales Community School. My apologies for not being able to present my comment in person, but I am currently participating in our annual staff versus students basketball game. I wanted, though, to make sure I was able to voice my support for the work done around reimagining and vision for schools of innovation in the Santa Fe Public Schools system. I had the honor of working with Dr. Garcia and her team in the meetings regarding this movement and was so taken by the work, I made it the crux of my capstone project for my continuing education program. Its formulation and fostered growth could create a new pathway for sustaining and growing our middle grade populations and the march of those students to advancements beyond their wildest dreams in a burgeoning vocational fields. I look forward to seeing the future with this type of thinking as the backbone of Santa Fe Public Schools' vision of student advancement. Thank you. Chris Lopez, Principal, Gonzales Community School. And that concludes public forum.
Okay, thank you. Union update. Is there anybody here from the union to update us this evening? No? Okay, board announcements and follow-up. The first item, item A, is New Mexico School Board Association Excellence in Student Achievement Award recognitions. The New Mexico School Boards Association has selected 20 dedicated employees of the Santa Fe Public Schools, along with the Santa Fe High School Band Boosters, for their exceptional commitment to advancing student success. The awardees from Santa Fe Public Schools represent a wide array of educational leadership, classroom excellence, and community support, highlighting the collaborative spirit that drives the district's mission forward. The Santa Fe Public Schools awardees are among 189 recipients being recognized statewide for playing a vital role in improving student achievement across New Mexico. These individuals and community partners represent the best of what public education has to offer. Your passion, dedication, and perseverance makes a real difference in the lives of our students. We are incredibly grateful for your service and proud to see your efforts recognized statewide. Now, what I would like to do is I would like to call out the name and the position of each of the individuals that have been recognized, and when I do, can you please come forward, and then if the board can then join them, and let's recognize them properly. Our awardees include Valerie. Yes, go ahead and go down first, and then I'll announce. I'll announce from up here though, so that. But our awardees include Valerie Apodaca, Principal of Nina Otero Community School. Charlotte Alt, Principal of Ramirez Thomas Elementary School. Matthew Baird, Network and Security Manager. Kathy Casaus, Assistant Superintendent for Elementary School Support. Dave Forrester, teacher at Mandala International Magnet School. Catherine Grunwald, Digital Learning Innovation Coordinator. Justin Hunter, Principal of Nava Elementary School. Molly Lithgow, teacher at Santa Fe High School. Erica Martinez Maestas, Principal of Chaparral Elementary School. Alyssa Maestas, Principal of Salazar Elementary School. Angelique Ortiz Armijo, Principal of E.J. Martinez Elementary School. Wendy Romero Pacheco, teacher at Ortiz Middle School. Josh Ryan, Principal of Early College Opportunities High School. John Seiss, Principal of El Dorado Community School. Carolyn Salazar, teacher at Ortiz Middle School. Felicia Senna, Assistant Superintendent for K-8 School Support. Amy Thomas, Principal of Tasuka Elementary School. Nora Tolman Kaltenbach, teacher at Mandala International Magnet School. Jose Villarreal, Work-Based Learning Coordinator. And the Santa Fe High School Band Booster Club. Dr. Garcia, as I walk down there, do you want to say some words and then join him?
Yes, absolutely. This is a great recognition for all of you, and we have such pride in you and all your work, your leadership, what you're doing for students. And this is from the School Boards Association recognizing. There was a press release that went out statewide, and so we're so proud to be able to recognize you in person. Congratulations, you make us all proud. And Joe, you're going to have to get people to scoot in so that you can get them into a picture, okay?
That's these three, right? Okay, so our next item on our agenda is our student board member recognition. I want to thank Hamby Park, our Santa Fe High School student board member, Aaron Lucio, our Capitol High School student board member, and Lucas Robbins, Mandala student school board member. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you. I learned a lot about your schools over the past year and so that you've served on this board. And I think it's very important that we do have student board members because it does inform us and it does provide us with much needed information that you don't always get being a board member. So thank you very much and congratulations and good luck in your future endeavors.
I just wanted to thank the board for just kind of like listening to the voices of people and recognizing communities. Obviously, there's going to be like a lot of good and bad in the district, but I really like recognize that the board allows that student voices actually represent and that we get to put announcements or even put on a presentation later about like problems in our schools. And I think it's not only a good place for leadership, but it's also a good place to kind of like exercise what you want to do with your position, and you kind of like, you obviously we're not voting, but you still like kind of steer the ship a little, which I really appreciate that they're letting 3 like under 18-year-olds do that for so long. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Robbins.
Just sort of echoing what Hamby said, I want to thank you all for this opportunity. It's been great. I agree that it's important. I think our perspective is often overlooked, and I think it's really great to be here. So anyone out there who's watching who might be thinking about doing this, I'd encourage you to do so. And I definitely hope that this program keeps going. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anything from any of the board members? Dr. Gonzalez.
Well, I've always appreciated the student voices and feel it's very important that we hear from you, and you're on various committees and things like that, because we do need to hear from you. You are the ones that are there in the front lines, so to speak. So thank you for your service.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. It's been a joy to work with you guys the last few years. You bring important perspective, as you noted. I know you're going to do incredible things with your life, and I'm grateful for the time that we've spent together. Thank you.
And Board Member Heffron.
Maybe now. See, I need training always, as you can see. I wanted to congratulate you both, or all three of you actually, because you have given me as a new member of the board more insights into what needs to be done to address the needs of students and schools, faculty, and parents. And I appreciate your perspective. I'm going to miss your perspectives especially. So you can go ahead and find me, as you know, and write to me and let me know how to continue to improve upon all the suggestions you have made to us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Other board announcements and follow-up before we move on to our superintendent announcements.
President Abeyta.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that there were some district teachers that won the Golden Apple Awards, and I hope that we will honor them in the future. I'm sure that Dr. Garcia is going to mention them as well, but just, you know, gratitude to all of our district staff that work so hard for our students, and yes, thank you.
All right, Board Member Heffron.
I'd like to mention 3 different things, if I could, please. The first is I have been welcomed recently at a couple of major events here in town by different groups, and one you're all very familiar with that's also in our public schools, NDI. And last week they had their final performances of the season, and I was able to sit there and watch all of our public schools participate in the NDI program, and the schools were called out and thanked, by the way. And the theme, as you can see even from this, was a mathematical theme. Imagine putting dance with all these kids into mathematical equations, and I will remember it for forever. I also wanted to thank an organization called Breakthrough, and I attended their event last week. Breakthrough is a college access program that serves 7th to 12th grade students here in our public schools. Usually, these are students who are underrepresented in higher education. We currently serve, or they currently serve over 200 students in our public schools. The vast majority of them are first generation to go to college, and they are low-income students. And speaking of that, my organization, of which I am a lead, American Association of University Women, last week had the privilege of presenting 6 scholarships to girls graduating here. 2 were at the Academy of Technology and Classics, 2 young women who are going on to college. And then I was able to present with my partner 4 scholarships to 4 young women in the Adelante program, who are also amazingly going to college. And I would like to recognize all of them as well for incredible hard work. Can you imagine? So I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Okay. All right, superintendent announcements and follow-ups. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board and colleagues, audience. Continued in our transition with Dr. Griffin. I think she's watching us right now. Hi, Dr. Griffin. She is kept up with all of our board meetings. We've been meeting a couple of times a week, and she will start officially on June the 9th. And this is my last board meeting. But I have to tell you, I'm very excited about her coming on board and the excitement and the leadership and the enthusiasm. It's just palatable. So I'm really looking forward to a new chapter for the Santa Fe Public Schools. I also want to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity to serve at this stage in my life. Again, I never thought I would be back sitting here or any interim superintendency of any type. So I guess the lesson there is never say never and be open to possibilities, because what friends and family and people tell me, it has agreed with me, and that it brought a little pep to my step and a sparkle to my eye. It really has been quite wonderful and challenging and demanding, and I've grown a lot, but thank you for your faith in me and for giving me this opportunity to serve. I love this district very much. Now I have to get nostalgic. It's going to be hard to say goodbye again, because it's been so wonderful to work with the team and all the faculty and staff. And I love the work, the students, and it's just great. And the board has been wonderful to work with. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to miss you all very, very much, and thank you. Lastly, I do not have all of the honorees. I have Faith Cahill, who received the Golden Apple, and you will be invited to that ceremony. She's at El Dorado High School, and I probably will go. I've been on the Golden Apple board, was on the board for a number of years, and tend to go to the celebrations. I know Superintendent Chavez used to invite me, and I went to some of them. So I hope to go to that one and probably see you there at face recognition. Partners in Education did recognize a series of teachers, and they represent the best of the best. And some of them were in the bulletin, and so that went out district-wide. And the ones that received awards this week will also be in the bulletin. Unfortunately, I don't have the names in front of me, so I apologize for that. And other than that, that ends my announcements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Garcia. Board Member Bozé.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I just wanted to note it's Hope Cahill.
I don't know where I came up with
It's
Faith.
okay. It's
Hope, Faith. and-
Charity.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, I want to thank you for being here with us. I promise I won't cry as much as I did last time. I was disappointed in 2021 to not get to continue working with you. It was such a short little amount of time during a global pandemic that was challenging for all of us. And I just feel really lucky that I had another little couple months with you. And it's always challenging, but you are a solid lighthouse and champion for our district. And I'm just so grateful. Those flowers are for you from the board.
Thank you.
And we just thank you. It was a labor of love. I know it wasn't on your radar, and we're all better for it. Thank you.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Dr. Garcia, President Abeta, and members of the board, I don't know anybody else that could have stepped in and done the job that you did. I mean, you were so familiar with this district, you knew the people, everything. So we thank you again. I know it wasn't something that you'd planned, but thank goodness that you came and helped us out. And we will always be grateful for that. So thank you.
It's my honor.
Board Member Heffron.
Dr. Garcia, Superintendent Garcia, I want to thank you as well, because you actually, when I was out tutoring in the public schools, you brought me in to serve with your diversity committee, et cetera, and I appreciate all the knowledge you shared with me all those years ago, as well as continuing just recently. I appreciate your stepping in at the last minute as you did when we desperately needed an interim superintendent. So it's gone, but we still love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks.
so much.
Dr. Garcia, there's not much more to add, just that in our interactions as the board president and you as acting superintendent, I was extremely impressed and understand all the accolades and the awards and the things you've been given over the years. It's very impressive, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my honor, and you gave me a gift at this stage of my life. I never thought I would ever do anything like this again, so thank you.
Okay, so that takes us to our presentations and possible action items. Our first is policy 356, student engagement.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Our Deputy Superintendent, Vanessa Romero, will be leading this presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, President Abeta, members of the board, Dr. Garcia. Tonight, we are really excited to share with you the work our student board members and our student council have done over the past year and a half, 2 years, with board policy 356 that was passed in April of 2023, tied to reimagining and looking at creating a system to increase student engagement and student voice, and just very excited to invite our 3 student board members to come up, and also Jose Villarreal for facilitating a lot of the leadership training with student council members from 7th through 12th grade and student board members leading this process. And I also want to recognize Raquel Plaza, who also supported some of the facilitation with just great work working with these young leaders. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jose.
Before you do, if I may, Ms. Romero, will you yield the floor to me for a second? Mr. President, members of the board, so you remember out of reimagining that some of you worked with us on different areas, and Dr. Gonzalez and Board President Romana Beta, this was your baby that we worked on, and it's just so great. Now I'm excited to hear this presentation that you have a concept, you create a policy, and this was one of the priorities, if you remember, out of reimagining from the community, and now to see it in fruition. So great work, guys. Thank you.
One more slide, Joe. Oh, okay. Thank you. Superintendent Garcia, President Abeta, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to present the work that our student council has led around policy 356, student engagement. Special thanks to Deputy Superintendent Vanessa Romero and former Assistant Superintendent Carl Morano for inviting and trusting in us to lead, help facilitate these leadership trainings for this initiative. At this time, though, I would like to take a moment to recognize the incredible student council members that helped us or who contributed to this work. So if you're a student council member, would you please stand so we can honor your efforts and leadership over the past 2 years? I know there's a couple that showed up. Thank you so much, guys. So thank you for showing up, speaking up, and leading the way. Again, I'm Jose Villarreal. I oversee the work-based learning program. And alongside my colleague, my talented colleague, Raquel Plaza, who is the Deputy Chief of Equity and Inclusion Department, we co-facilitated the Student Council workshops the past couple of years. And when Deputy Superintendent Romero asked us to lead these trainings utilizing our work-based learning pre-internship boot camp training curriculum, we said yes with confidence, knowing that the curriculum, which prepares our student interns for workforce readiness in our internship program, would seamlessly help with these trainings professionally developing our student council. And Superintendent Romero was right, because our students truly stepped up and thrived in these trainings. I think they enjoyed them as well. But looking at the slide behind me, in our inaugural year, which was 23-24, we started by introducing the policy to our student council members, and in that same training, we covered professionalism and public speaking. And again, we had a lot of fun with that, and students embraced this training and immediately applied it. And in the second training, the students created and launched a district-wide student engagement survey that reached over 1,200 students across SFPS. So that gave us powerful student-driven insight into what matters most to them. Fast forward to this current year, our first training, we dove deeper. We started with leadership development training, and we shared a preview of the survey results with our current student council members, and then tasked the students to take those topics to their schools to get some feedback from their schools. The second training happened. They brought back that feedback. We reviewed these topics, and we narrowed them to 3 key priorities, all led by the students. They also brainstormed strategies around implementation. And before we get to the next slide, which is the 3 topics, I'd like to make 2 points. Number 1, even though these topics and their associated problems and solutions might be uncomfortable or even controversial, the important thing is to understand that these are real issues our students see and experience every day. These priorities reflect their lived perspectives and their desire for change. And that's exactly the point of this policy, to ensure the student voice. Elevate, my apologies, to elevate the student voice. It's our job as adults and leaders to listen, learn from them, and support them in shaping meaningful solutions. The second thing I want to say, which I've mentioned already, this initiative has been student-led from day one. It's rooted in authentic engagement, student voice, and peer leadership. We literally showed up to these trainings, gave them the idea of what we were trying to accomplish, and they just took it and ran with it, and they led every single training. It was just an honor to work with them. Our student board members, which I'll hand it off to in a couple of minutes or another minute. It's just an honor and a privilege to work with them. I'm lucky, I consider myself lucky to work with them, our leaders. Transitioning into the next slide. So these are the 3 topics that they decided on. And they're going to take us through that journey. So first up is going to be the topic of quality of school meals, and Hanby's going to take us through that. Erin is not here. She emailed me and mentioned she was sick, so I'm wishing her fast healing. So Lucas will take her topic, which is feeling supported at school and drug abuse and vaping. So those are a combination of 2 topics, actually. So they voted on those topics, and they were so close we combined it into 1 topic. And then finally, to close us out, cleanliness and maintenance of schools. Now, handing it over to Hamby.
Thank you to the board for letting us present this and bringing up topics for our schools. Can we go to the next slide? And so I will be introducing the quality of school meals. So personally so my name's Hami Park, and I'm obviously the board member for Santa Fe High School, and that's what I represent. But one thing I see is that when I try to get lunch at like 12:30, I have to wait over like 10 to 20 minutes for to get my food because there are just so many students. And even with the new building in the Commons, a lot of the rotational stations are actually locked down. So I wanted to address that. And because of these long lines and the shorter lunch period because of the new school schedule, we barely have time to eat. And also that takes away from extracurricular activities during lunch, and it's a little bit inefficient. But also, there is a lot of repetitive meal options. So obviously at my school personally, we have the rotating, and then we have the pizza and then on the bun, right? And so students have a lot of options at my school, which is really great. However, while we were working with the middle school student council, we found that Nina Otero actually reports getting pizza daily. And obviously that pizza is like great. We love it's everybody's favorite food, but just kidding. But it's kind of repetitive and it gets really bad. And they also reported their breakfast being kind of inadequate with just like cereal and those meals not being nutritious enough. And so then we go into a third problem, which is maintenance problems. And I've experienced this firsthand when I was in elementary school. I experienced this at Elia, but I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. But a couple of the middle school student councils, and I think it was at Nina Otero again, are reporting spoiled milk due to improper storage. And this may be a variety of reasons, of course, like the temperature, but milk is just something that students get with every meal because it's like the only drink that they're able to choose. So it's just very important that we have that. If you look to the graph, we see that over almost 75% of students rated the 1, 2, and 3, which means they're on the not satisfied kind of scale. Most people are in the middle, but only 13 students were very satisfied with their school meals, which kind of speak volumes with how big our district is. So could we go to the next slide? And so we proposed a couple solutions. I worked with the middle school in Jose, and so we want to kind of bring more outreach. So in the previous graph, we saw that many students actually responded to giving feedback. And so we want to implement QR codes for students to actually voice their opinions, right? Because we are student board members, we're student council, and we're working with the board, but we want to get the full story, right? And so the heart of this issue is increasing staffing, right? If we're able to open those rotational meals at lunch, these will reduce long lunch lines, we'll have more time for extracurriculars and to socialize, but also it will kind of reduce these wait times, which is a big burden to students. Now, the third thing is probably the easiest and the most we should take more action on is expanding the meal variety and providing nutritious options, not just pizza every day, but having like rotational lunches at every school and having dietary restrictions always being like upheld. So that's it, and I would like to just hand it off to Lucas.
All right, thank you all. So I'll be covering for Erin. Her topic was feeling supported at school, and like as Jose mentioned, we're so close tied between drug abuse and vaping in this topic that we almost identified the relationship between them as causal. Students who don't feel supported at school are more likely to fall into drug abuse and vaping, so we decided to just combine this topic. So why feeling supported at school matters, effective learning, and just having an environment where students feel like they can thrive in. I've noticed at Mandela that's something I think we do well, and I think something that's really valuable for me. The 3 focus areas we identified were learning resources, teacher development, and mental health support. And I mean, I think what's interesting about this topic is everything here is so intertwined, but I think just making benefits in any of these, and I won't read off the slideshow, but I think that there's a lot of great ideas there. And then we can go to the next slide. So some solutions and ideas that we discussed were empowering student voices, whether that looks like the say something sort of reporting form that we have now, or another method, just making sure that students are aware of the avenues that are available to them to report bullying, and just thereby making them active participants in the school's decisions, like it says. Improving student-coach relationships. I think we identified athletics as a field where students can really feel most supported, and expanding access and ensuring that students are getting that support they need from someone like a coach who might not be a teacher, but someone they can feel like they can confide in the school. And then measuring success. We could see increased participation in sports clubs, extracurriculars, and just generally a culture where students feel heard, valued, and motivated, which we could gauge with another survey a couple years down the road, something like that. And then we'll go to the next topic, which was mine, cleanliness and maintenance of schools. I wanted to just further thank Lauren and Tessa. They're from El Dorado, and they showed up. They were really helpful throughout the process, and they were in my group on this topic. So thank you guys for being here. You all have this printout on your desks, which is a more detailed survey results. I'm happy to send this electronically or send you the full survey results if you'd be interested. But we surveyed 1,200 students. As you can see there, 538 rated cleanliness and maintenance below average. The schools that were rated the lowest were El Camino Real, Santa Fe High, Ortiz, and Gonzales. We identified 4 main areas of concern. Trash, that being excessive lunch waste and outdoor litter. Bathrooms, a lack of paper towels, menstrual products, and broken stall doors and locks. Utilities, non-functioning heating, AC, leaky sinks. And vandalism, student damage to restrooms and misuse. So some solutions we thought of were reusable trays and utensils that could help with both lunch waste and ensuring we don't have so much litter on campus. Ensuring that students at all schools have access to menstrual products, which is something that the district does, but what we heard from a lot of students was that they weren't being adequately stocked and that there was a lack of access, especially in elementary schools as well, in elementary and middle schools. A reporting system for maintenance issues, something that students could actually have access to. So sort of similar to how school admin have access to a system where they can request support, somewhere where students could file a ticket, report issues in student bathrooms or places where adults aren't usually going. And preventing vandalism through awareness campaigns, consequences for students who are vandalizing our spaces, and restorative practices are all things that we discussed. Yeah, so just a little background on this project. We were all paired up with the student council members from all of our middle and high schools here. And we just sort of discussed these topics with them in depth. Like Jose mentioned, we made that survey. We each worked with a smaller cohort of schools, so we could get those voices really dialed in and get their feedback, especially on these topics. So yeah, thank you all.
And we forgot to give our student board members their certificates for participating on the board. So if you boys can come down. Lucas and Hanby.
Okay, let's go up front and take a picture with them
There you
before they come
go.
back up.
There you go. Thank you, boys. Thank you.
Oh,
Yes, Board Member Robin.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate the thanks for you all for being here, and I have to head out and get home, but I But I do appreciate this opportunity, and thank you all so much. I'm glad we got to present that slideshow, and if you have any questions on my topic or anything, just let me know, and I can send that information.
All right, board member. Unfortunately, like Lucas, I do have to go home as well, but I want to also say big thanks because obviously these are difficult topics, right? We're bringing problem and awareness, and so it's kind of a little bit of a negative connotation, but with such a supportive board, I think we could really fix the problems. And I know you guys because we've been serving for 2 years, right? It's been wonderful to work with all of you, with board member Heffron joining in like this year, and with superintendent. It's amazing that you just stepped in and just got to the job. So I really appreciate what this district is doing. And obviously there is some negative, but there's a lot of positive, and I want to reiterate that, okay? So thank you so much, and I would love to come back and visit you guys sometime. Thank you.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I just wanted to, because you brought up such good topics in this presentation, I wanted to let you know that I got an email with some really good data on the student mental health actions that have taken place, the training that's happening, the mental health first aid, those programs in the Office of Student Wellness that have happened over the last year are really, really going well. I also have an anti-vaping resolution that I've been working on. So I want to say to you that I know sometimes change comes slowly, but please know that we have heard you. We have heard you. And we always will take that into account, and we work where we can and in what ways that we can. And sometimes it takes time. Change comes slowly, but we care.
Dr. Garcia.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for the hard work on this and commend you for not only stating the data, describing the problem, but also giving suggestions for change. And I promise I'm going to share this with the incoming superintendent. I think this is great baseline data for us to look at and a place to grow from. And this is information that we wouldn't have had. And I think that was the whole idea behind this resolution, was for the board to be able to hear directly from the students about the state of affairs in the schools. And so thank you so much. It's great work.
Vice President Noble, we were able to thank the student board members before you got here, so before they leave, I don't know if you wanted to say something.
I was just thinking as I get my brain in order that I might even be writing emails when I can pull things together. But I really appreciate all that you have brought to the board, and want to echo what Board Member Bozay said, which is that we are listening. And there's often a lot that goes into decisions and public service and making change. And the longer I've been at this, the more I appreciate people who are willing to step up and do it, because it's not everyone. And I really think that you have brought great perspective for us. I wish we could keep you for 1 or 2 more years, because and this is the way it often goes. It's like we're just getting warmed up. But you're both on to bigger and better things, and we will be the better for all your work, and you can always come back and follow up with us. And there is no end to the engagement, data gathering, and improvement that we need and want to do. And it is our job to listen and to continue to listen and to do our best. And please know that we are doing our best. We really are doing everything that we can in the world that we live in, and appreciate all that the energy and thoughtfulness that you've brought to this. So thank you. Please come back and share what you learn and how the perspective looks from after you cross that stage this week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that brings us to item B. All right, we'll see you guys. Good job. We'll see you. Thank you. Okay, Desert Sage Academy transitions.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. At this time, I would like to turn this over to Deputy Superintendent Romero, who will introduce her colleagues.
Thank you, President Debate, members of the board, Dr. Garcia. We wanted to give an update about some of the transitions that have been occurring at Desert Sage and give a historical perspective, but then also have Ms. Thorstensen and Mr. Ryan be able to talk to and speak to the details of the school and some of the changes that we've been seeing over the years. Desert Sage was created during COVID in response to COVID. And we just want to give you a perspective of how things have changed over the past couple of years. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Beata and Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Romero, President Abate, and members of the board, Superintendent Garcia, good evening. So we are going to talk a little bit about some of the historical background of Desert Sage and where they are today. And talk about the future a little bit. So, as Deputy Secretary Romero said, Desert Sage was opened in response to the global pandemic to provide a fully remote option for students. At its height, Desert Sage had an enrollment of 446 students. So, at one point, it was quite large. As of right now, the enrollment at Desert Sage is 52. The projected enrollment for next school year is 6 students right now. So the enrollment has significantly dropped over time. Other virtual programs have seen a similar decline in enrollment, and in fact, some of them have closed, including things like the Rio Rancho Spark Academy, which I believe finished up at the end of the 22-23 school year, I believe. So some additional information. DSA in many ways has sort of become a de facto alternative program for struggling students. Many students have transferred into DSA from other programs. But both Capital and Santa Fe High School have robust year-round programs that support students who are behind in credits in a much more holistic and full student way. Students participating in IAES, the Interim Alternative Educational Setting Program, which I will stumble over at every point in this presentation in spite of practicing, have received services through DSA historically. But some additional pieces of data, since 2022, DSA's four-year graduation rate has been consistently below the federal minimum of 67%. Schools that have been below 67% for 3 years under the federal Every Student Succeeds Act are sort of automatically placed into comprehensive school improvement status. That's the one piece that's actually outlined in federal law around school improvement. In addition, federal and state law both require that all students participate in annual testing. DSA has consistently struggled to meet the minimum threshold of 95%. So they are required, and there have been accountability penalties for not meeting the 95% participation. The budget has been annually about $2 million. So during community meetings held in April of 2024, and Mr. Ryan actually had some individual family outreach, there has been zero objection to the prospect of potential school closure.
I also wanted to clarify something, if I may. Do you all, I think the only one that may remember, because you were on the board then, I think, do you remember the academy where Cynthia Sanchez? So that was actually, Desert Sage morphed into the academy, and then during COVID is when it then became primarily just an online school.
Yep.
Just that little bit of history at that point.
Absolutely. So several of the state accountability measures, unfortunately, are not particularly advantageous for a school set up like DSA. So I'm going to go through a couple of them. So as I said before, all mandatory assessments, under state rule, all mandatory assessments for students, whether they're on campus or in a hybrid or fully virtual environment, must be administered on campus. So even students in a fully virtual environment have to come to school to participate in testing. This has been a big struggle. Folks choose virtual learning for a reason. That reason is generally not bringing them all together all at once to participate in mandatory testing. And if they don't meet that 95% participation rate, there are significant penalties. So in my last presentation to this board, I talked about what happens when we fail to meet 95%. There's a process that the PED undertakes calling attenuation, where they prorate proficiency downward by the proportion of untested students. All of the data on New Mexico Vistas for DSA in both ELA and math currently has been subjected to attenuation and has been lowered sort of artificially by the proportion of untested students. The other piece is graduation. So as I said, we have to hit a 4-year on-time graduation rate of 67%. However, the way New Mexico calculates graduation rates is different than just about every other state in the nation. We use what's called a shared accountability model, which basically means that every school that a student attends during their high school career gets a portion of the credit for that student graduating, or a portion of the non-credit if they do not. And so I've got some fairly complex slides coming up. I hope they're not too complicated, but it's a complicated process. And I want you to see how it can affect a school like DSA, where students don't tend to enroll as freshmen and go all the way through graduation. So here's a fictitious example with 4 fictitious students. So we take student snapshots 4 times a year. These are the 40, 80, 120th day snapshots that I'm sure you've heard about in the end of year. And those are location snapshots. So over the course of a 4-year high school career, that's 16 snapshots, is a way to think about it. So here are 4 students. So we've got student A, begins as a freshman at DSA and graduates on time. They spend their entire career at DSA. Student B starts as a freshman at Capital and transfers to DSA at the end of grade 10, but graduates on time. So they spend half their time at Capital, half their time at DSA. Student C starts at Capital, transfers to DSA their senior year, and graduates on time. And our final student begins as a freshman at Capital, transfers to DSA, and does not graduate on time. So those are 4 scenarios we see a lot. We see all different kinds of scenarios. So under shared accountability, this is what this looks like mathematically to the public education department. So we've got student A, who's there for a total of 16 snapshots. They graduated on time. That's 16 out of 16. They get a 1, if that makes sense. They're a full credit student. And that's part of the numerator and the denominator for the graduation percentage. Student B is there half time. So that's 8 out of 16, so they get 50%. The other 50% goes to Capital. Student C is there for a year, so they get 1/4%. And then student D, they were there for 3/4 of their career, but they did not graduate. So they don't get any credit in the numerator as a graduate, but they are also listed in the denominator as a non-graduate. Now, these are 4 students. If it was a plain accountability model where every student counted the same amount, this would calculate a graduation rate of 75%. But as you can see below, with the shared accountability units, it's actually less than that. And so schools like DSA, where students typically don't spend their whole high school career, tend not to have a lot of 1s in their calculations. And that means that their graduation rates tend to be lower. So I know that was very complicated, but I hope I simplified it enough. But that's another component that DSA has really struggled with over the last several years. So here is our proposed plan that's going to follow up with an ask. But our proposed plan is that at this point, Desert Sage is not going to accept any new students. We've got an anticipated enrollment of 6 for next year. that Desert Sage will be converted into a program under ECO. Mr. Ryan is currently principal of both, and they co-locate for SY 25-26. Students in IAES will continue to receive their services at ECO. The remaining staff will be reassigned. And that we will either close the program completely or it'll be redesigned for SY 26 or 27 and beyond. So our request is this. And so this is the request of the board, pending questions, that we approve the closure of Desert Sage with transition to a program at ECO for 25-26. The students will continue to receive their services on IAES at ECO, and that remaining staff be reassigned.
Because I think somewhere the context got lost, and that is that in order to be able to close the school, you have to the board has to take action. It's a year that you have to go through that process for PED. And so while it may have been discussed with the board, there was never an action taken. Therefore, we couldn't close it now. We have to show the PED, the transition plan, to be able to do it. It's just a technicality, really. I know that the board was aware of the issues. This is the transition plan that then would be sent to PED. So therefore, we're asking your approval to be able to move forward with it. And the staff and I stand for questions.
Questions, Dr. Gonzalez?
I'm wondering, is it still going to be online like Desert Sage is now when it moves over to ECO? No, okay.
It's no longer going to be online because that model currently is not successful for students. The testing, we can't get students to come in. So ECO, one day to do a test. Desert Sage, I'm spending a week getting a student at a time and begging them to come in and stuff. So it takes an incredible amount of manpower to test 50 kids, where it's just not reasonable to put that much effort into just trying to have students come in for assessments. And we're trying our best to get to pushing for that 95%, and then we fall short because 2 students didn't come in, and then we're like at 80 or whatever. Because when you have the small schools, a couple students bring down your percentages. And it's kind of what you're seeing for the example for the graduation rates. It's the same thing happens with everything that we try to do with a small school.
Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeta. I think my only question really, this all makes sense to me. God forbid we're ever in a pandemic again. I presume that we could prop up a school like this again now that we've had the experience and the infrastructure know how to do that.
Right, and part of the problem was just that parents were afraid to bring their kids back. We didn't want to lose them because we lost a lot out of state. So we just said, we're just going to keep this going online so that we could provide the service because they were afraid to send them to school.
Right. No, I very much took advantage of that for my middle school kid, and then when they started going in person, he went in person. So I've kind of been there for all phases of Desert Sage, and I appreciate the district's willingness to innovate around that. And it's time to move on, it sounds like.
If I may add to my comments earlier, in response to the shifting that's going on at Desert Sage, ECO has actually absorbed quite a number of the students because they're comfortable with the campus, they're comfortable with myself, the staff. So it wasn't really hard to convince many of those students just, why don't you just come in person? We had a lot of students that were asking, well, can I come in for study sessions during the school year? So we made a cohort, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had about 7 students come in and work with their math teachers and stuff during the day and be online with the teacher in the same room. So there was actually some students that are craving in-person school with or interaction or whatever they're craving. They were looking to get out of the home environment or wherever they're studying and come to school. So in response to that, it was pretty easy when it said that it was outreach. We called every student that was enrolled because there was 50 students and said, if this was going to happen, what would you like to do? And many of them, you can come to ECO, what's eco? Gave them, you know, the spiel. We have videos. And would you like to go to your homeschool, or what are your options? There was only about a handful of students that the parents wanted to stay in some type of online schooling, and it was due to, you know, medical reasons or some very personal reasons. Otherwise, the families and the students themselves are ready to come back to in-person school, and we're going to absorb many of them into eco, and then a few students did elect to go back to Capital or to Santa Fe High.
Well, and kudos to you for making such a welcoming school that students felt comfortable doing that.
Thank you.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta. I'm going to agree with what Sarah just said as well. I want to congratulate you because ECO has, over the last several years, turned into an exemplary school that it set out to be, and you're continuing to grow it and nurture your students in remarkable ways for career paths, et cetera, and college opportunities, both. So I would like to congratulate you for taking on the students from Desert Sage as well. I think it's a great move forward for all of them and for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the Desert Sage Academy transition, including its closure?
I move that we approve the closure of Desert Sage and move those students forward to ECO.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item C is our finance plan for the GEO bond, educational technology notes, and GEO bond election capacity.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, our deputy CFO and acting CFO, actually, Beverly Aguilar.
The board, Superintendent Garcia. I would like to introduce Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets and Art Melendres with Modrell Sperling Law Firm. And what they are bringing to the board today is notice of sale of general obligation of bonds, necessity resolution to acquire technology equipment and lease purchase equipment, 2025 election resolution proclamation, and the tax rate maintenance resolution. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric.
Good evening, President, members of the board, Dr. Garcia. It's good to see you again. I have a fairly short presentation. We'll kind of walk you through it. Just one thing I would note, there was a little bit of confusion on your last election. We've kind of cleared that up, so there will be a couple of numbers that will slightly change. I'll sort of walk you through that. But first off, I wanted to talk about your assessed valuation. That's really, which is effectively your tax base, and that's an important component because not only does it determine how much debt that the district can have outstanding, the faster your tax base grows, the faster you can retire your debt within your existing tax rate, and the more capacity that generates down the future. So over the last few years, you've seen fairly significant increases in your tax base. Last year, you saw around almost 11%. This current tax year, right around 6%. As some of you may recall, when we were planning the 2021 GEO bond election, we were looking at growth rates of around 3.5%. And that's why, as we kind of talk about your bonding capacity, when we went to voters in 2021, we asked for $100 million. This time, we're recommending going to voters for $150 million. And a lot of that really has to do with the increase that you've seen in your tax base. So the district is currently 31% bonded to capacity. And so because of your tax base, and I'll address a couple of the resolution that are going to be before you, and the first one really has to do with the authorizing and delegation of those bonds that voters approved back in November of 2021. The district has 22 million of bonds remaining outstanding, and based upon the growth in your tax base, the accumulation that you've had in your debt service fund, you can actually pay those off in one day in a very short note. We're recommending that being placed through the state treasurer, they're on a taxable basis, and so it also gives you flexibility on the timing that you, and when you spend those funds. And the important thing is that this will continue to maintain the district's $4.28 tax rate. In addition, in a continuation of the district's existing program are your education technology notes. Before you is also a resolution calling for the necessity of issuing education technology notes. Voters authorized the issuance of up to $55 million in education technology notes, and the district sells $11 million annually. Again, generally you've been able to sell these or mature these over a 3-year period. Because of the growth in your tax base, you'll be able to actually pay these off in about 2.5 years. Because there is usually a taxable component associated with the education technology notes, we're also recommending these be sold through the state treasurer. The state treasurer will purchase these, and the entire amount will be taxable. Again, it really widens the scope on how you can spend those funds, and the issuance of those will continue to maintain the district's long-standing $1.50 dedicated towards education technology notes. So our recommendation is to go to voters this November in the amount of $150 million to maintain the district's general obligation bond tax rate, and that would be issued over a 4-year period, roughly. And then those would be sold as the district needs funds. And then, in addition, because there was a change in the election law several years ago, moving school elections from the spring to November, which is after when tax rates get set, so that the district doesn't have to go to a special election. We're also recommending that the board approve adding an HB 33 mill levy, which is just a continuation of the existing mill levy. And the reason is because at the time, the way that, because of the change in election law, it's currently authorized through tax year 2026, but that is basically good through September of 2027, which would be before you would go back to voters. So, as you'll notice in the question, it'll be only for 5 years, although you can go out for 6, because that gets you to 2031, and now we can get the district back on a 6-year cycle. And so that's also part of the information and resolutions that you have before you. So specifically to the GEO bonds and to the education technology notes from a timing standpoint, subject to your approval this evening, we would set interest rates with the state treasurer on June 12th, and then the board would approve the actual ETN resolution. Closing would then occur in July, late July, and that's when funds would be available for the district to expend, not only on the GEO bond program, but also as well as the education technology notes. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board. Board Member Heffron.
Excuse me, sir, perhaps I misheard, but the district can go back to voters in November 25 for an estimated $172 million to be issued over a 4-year period, correct? I heard 150.
Yeah, so my apologies for, because there was some confusion on when your last election was, it was we originally thought it was in February at a special election, and because of that, because of the remaining authorization that you had, you were going to pay down your debt, and that additional $22 million would be added to your $150 million election.
Okay.
Because after some further review, there was not a special election. The election did occur in November. You still have the authorization to issue those bonds. We're recommending $150 million. It comes out to the same amount. Under the original finance plan, you were going to pay off debt and add that to your capacity. But because you still have the authorization to issue those 22 million, that's why it's only 150. So I apologize for the confusion there.
Thank you very much for the explanation, though. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Vice President Noble.
Thank you very much. And so we'll be on schedule now, right? Will we? Will we have to do anything weird given, or have we finally sort of caught up with our cycles?
Great question. So yeah, so we're now getting back on to the appropriate cycle with this upcoming GEO bond election and with the HB 33 election. You'll now be on you won't have to be doing these off years. Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you could go back to February, but then you'd have a gap, right? And so we don't want to do that,
trying not to go
which
back to
is why,
February.
so if you vote on this tonight and you have them both in November, absolutely, now you'll be back in sync.
That's right.
Thank you, appreciate it. And do you see any, or what do you see as the extra weirdness, we'll call it a technical term, that the markets have been experiencing of late? Do we anticipate that affecting us in any way?
Because the debt is so short and you pay it off so rapidly, even if we were to see some, sort of significant fluctuations in the market, I don't anticipate any issue because these are taxable bonds. They are based upon the GEO bond will be based upon what's called the SOFR, which is the short-term 1 month rate, which replaced LIBOR a few years ago. And the ETNs, because they're a 2-year, they'll be based on the 2-year Treasury plus a spread. Those rates are a fixture and they're published daily, so we don't anticipate that. Because of the tariff announcement at the beginning of April, it effectively shut down the municipal bond market for several days. Because the secondary supply dried up for municipal bonds. That won't be the case here, so it does actually eliminate some of the risk associated with some of the market movements that you might see in a traditional municipal market financing.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have some related action items. The first would be Resolution 2024-2025-15, which is notice of sale for the district's 2025 general obligation bonds. Is there a motion?
I'll move we approve the resolution for the 2024-2025 notice of sale for the district's 2025 general obligation bonds.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
President Abeyta?
Yes.
I did just want to make note that in that paperwork, then that the date will be changed to reflect the correct, yes, okay.
Okay, good catch, thank you. Resolution 2024-2025-16, necessity to acquire technology equipment for the district. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll move to approve that resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Resolution and Proclamation 2024-2025-17, November 4th, 2025 Board Member and Bond Question.
I was just
Dr.
curious, I'm
Garcia.
just sorry, is it okay to do it this way, or did you need to present, or we're good? Okay, I'm sorry, fine, I just didn't know if Art needed to do anything.
President Abeyta, I move approval of the resolution and proclamation of 2024-2025-17 for the November 4th, 2025 Board Member and Bond Question elections.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. And finally, Resolution 2024-2025-18, tax maintenance. May I have a motion?
I'll move Resolution 2024-2025-18, tax maintenance.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Okay.
Thank you very much, and I just want to say thank you especially to Board Member Bozay for double-checking on us and making sure November instead of February. I also want to thank Beverly and Josh for the backup support, and we're back on track. And good to see you again, Superintendent, and you all have a great evening. We'll take a moment, if you'll permit me, to just hand you this. You can sign whatever is comfortable. But we've got President and Secretary tabs.
Thank you.
And Palmer will pick those up or whatever you want.
And Art, we'll get you the date when we do advanced planning for the specialty, for the notice. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are on to Resolution 2024-2025-19, Reimagining SFPS Innovation Schools.
Okay, let me just get to that one. Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry. Here we go. All righty. So this is submitted by Kate Noble, Vice President and Co-Chair of Reimagining, and I am submitting under my old role as former Chief Strategy Officer for the Reimagining effort. The resolution is a product of Reimagining SFPS effort and is designed for SFPS schools to create innovative programming. It also provides an opportunity to offer our families and students more public school choice, including those families who are choosing options other than Santa Fe Public Schools for their K-12 education. And I'm going to toss it over to Vice President Noble.
Vice President Noble.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia, President Abeyta. As Dr. Garcia mentioned, this was something that was has been worked on through the Reimagining Steering Committee and the teams there, and ultimately, it's a simple resolution, which I had considered saying we should read out loud, but I won't do that because nobody wants that. But ultimately, I do hope that the thousands watching will look this up, read the resolution. I think it is really elegant, and credit to Dr. Garcia for the elegance of the drafting and the building blocks that it creates. I believe as a sort of framework for schools and community to really be a part of charting the path forward. And I see this as something that has a lot of, and Dr. Garcia and I have talked this a great deal, it has a lot of potential applications at different schools, but ultimately, as we have looked to reimagine, if you will, our public schools, it's clear that we don't know what the future will look like, that a lot of people believe in public education and want to be a part of shaping it in the future, and that those things really form a sort of critical recipe for moving forward, which I think is outlined in the resolution. The action is simple, which charges the superintendent exploring a School of Innovation application process, which would increase school choice within the Santa Fe Public Schools, enhance community engagement and buy-in, while being cost neutral and within budgetary constraints. But ultimately, it's a way to ground and localize some of the reimagining work for schools and school communities. And as I think we all know, Santa Fe Public Schools is an incredibly diverse district. We have a wide range of schools. A lot of districts have much more consistent, if you will, models across the district. We have a lot of different models, and this idea can support and empower those school communities really to actively be a part of charting the path that is appropriate. And I believe this is how we not just reimagine, but really return some power and agency to school communities, again, to chart their path into the future and hopefully help us revitalize public education as we go forward in Santa Fe with all of the different and diverse schools that we have. So thank you so much, Dr. Garcia, for the hard work on this. I also want to thank, and maybe somebody is among the thousands out there watching, the folks that really worked on this and engaged through the Reimagining Steering Committee and Reimagining engagement efforts. And this has been a little while coming, but I really do think it's something that we should keep close as really a touchstone for how we work going forward.
On that point.
Dr. Garcia.
The next phase, if the board passes this resolution, is actually creating the framework, which got halted, just because we kind of had to stop the work in between. But I think that's going to be terribly exciting and engaging staff, and I'll be working with Christine on talking to her, Dr. Griffin, about the framework so that that can also come back for you all to digest and hopefully get the ball rolling on that, which is just like we saw this other one come to fruition. I think it's going to be very exciting to see the fruits of this resolution come to life.
Questions, Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. Thank you, Vice President Noble. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Anyone who's ever talked to me for longer than 5 minutes has heard me talk about my love for specialized programs in public schools. And I had personal experience with this with our daughter in Florida, and I'm just so excited to see it happening here and in such a unique and, community-driven way, so that, it's not us deciding what programs are going to exist, it's the schools and the communities and the families really being involved in that. This is the way that it should be, and I think it's exciting to truly see the work of reimagining coming to a head like this. Thank you both.
Board Member Heffron.
Thank you, President Abeyta, Superintendent. Of course, my question has to be, these are federal Title III funds, correct? We will be spending our federal Title III funds that directly support EL learners.
I've lost.
It says that on the page that we were given out. Okay, because this is also, that's completely irrelevant then, what I'm looking at? Because it's also about English language learners, that's what I'm thinking about.
No, I don't know what you're looking at.
Okay, completely out of line then, I apologize.
We have a lot
Question
of paperwork on our
withdrawn.
board, so
Yes.
maybe.
You're on number 5. And
Thank
we're
you.
just on
I've jumped ahead, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, thank you. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. You scared me for a minute. I was like, I don't know the answer.
Okay, can I have a motion?
President Abeyta.
Board Member Bozay.
I move to approve Resolution 2024-2025-19, Reimagining SFPS Innovation Schools.
I have a motion and I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are on consent. There are 6 items. Do we want to get clarification on any of the 6 items? Board Member Heffron, you had pointed to item number 5. And the Title III application.
Right, so if you could clarify for me then on this particular one, the federal Title III funds. The word there, federal, scares me.
I think it's just, I can ask Ms. Romero, but I believe that it's just the application, right? That we're asking for consent, correct? On the
Yes,
consent
Dr.
agenda?
Garcia, Board Member Heffron, yes, it's federally funded, right, to support our ELs. So yes, it's the application that we submit every year, letting them know the number of EL students we have
Right.
and requesting the money
And we
for our
hope,
EL students. And that's been used to, it supports some of the FTE at the district level, but it also supports, we've purchased ELD curriculum this year focused on secondary. So supporting our secondary teachers with ELD instruction.
So
And
hopefully these federal funds will continue, shall we say.
Well, we don't know, but
We don't know.
But we apply, and it's
Right.
a board, it's a requirement that the board approves their application. That's why it's on
Got it.
consent and not like a presentation, it's pro forma.
Considering the number of students we have, and as a former
Well, it's a third of
TESOL
our
teacher
students.
myself,
Yeah.
I have to applaud and also agree. I was shocked that the number is so low, this 296+ thousand. I think that's commendable that we're providing all of this service for that amount of money. Thank you.
Well, it doesn't cover it all.
I know,
Yeah,
however, it does
a
from
lot
this-
of it
these
comes out of
funds.
operational. The same
Right.
thing for many of these titled programs, the operational budget supports it.
Correct. But thank you for the clarification. Thank you.
President Abeyta, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Can I have a second?
I second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 10 is board discussion and possible action. Dr. Gonzalez.
President Abeyta, Dr. Garcia, members of the board, I've been trying to work on a foundation for Santa Fe Public Schools. Every place I've ever worked has had a foundation, and this is the first place that hasn't had a foundation. And I really wanted it to come in before the ESSER funds were gone. There were people that said would donate to a foundation if you had one. So I would like to form a committee or have you designate somebody besides me to work with the partners in education. And then we'll bring it back to when the new superintendent comes in. And I'll be one of the people working on that. So I just need one other board member.
Okay, any other board member want to work on?
Can I ask a question, board member? What will the foundation be doing? What is the goal or the strategy here? Because I'm not familiar with this.
Well, most foundations have, say the superintendent would give ideas of what programs they'd like to get funding for. One big thing right now is housing, and we have some funds, but we probably need more funds. And I think it's something that people in the community would support. But I don't have, I don't have the whole thing laid out.
In that case, I think I've had some of this discussion with you and others before, that I would be happy to help on that initiative. I think it's a very important one moving forward. And if we need a foundation to raise awareness and donations and building rights, et cetera, to go ahead in our community to support teachers and staff, absolutely.
Currently, we do have, it's not our foundation, it's a separate 501c3, the Partners in Education. And they do things like support teachers for field trips, and they have resources there, and they do the Teachers Who Inspire awards every year. So that's why we want to work with them and see how we.
Correct, but it would be a separate foundation, Santa Fe Public School Foundation.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the two of you can start researching that and then come back to the board, and we can talk about the pros and cons and ultimately come to a decision and put this to rest one way or the other. Okay, any other board discussion and possible action? Yes, Board Member Bozay.
Thank you, President Abeyta. As I mentioned earlier after the student board member presentation, the anti-vaping resolution that I'd been working on in the fall sort of got dropped, I believe, because of some personal issues that I was dealing with in October. So I would like to pick that back up. I'd already, the board was in support of that, and I went back and found what I'd worked on with the Office of Student Wellness. So it's my intention over the next few weeks to work on that and get it wrapped up. I've had some folks approach me recently about the expansion of bilingual education into K-8 and elementary schools, whether that's like as a specials class or as an elective in middle schools. We had that wonderful presentation from the dual language programs, and I went back and read the bilingual Renaissance resolution earlier, and I think it sort of left room for, bilingual education outside of those programs. And I know that I sat in on the community engagement pieces of reimagining around that. And there were lots of folks who Spanish wasn't their first language, but they wanted their kids to be able to learn that for all of the reasons outlined in that wonderful resolution, that, you know, kids at a young age are apt to learn new languages, and it helps them in lots of other developmental ways. So I am hopeful, because we have seen such success in those other programs, that we might be able to explore expanding that and or offering that at other schools if folks are interested and on board with that.
May I comment on that?
Yes. Dr.
Thank
Garcia.
you, Mr. President, members of the board. So as I recall the presentation, part of the problem is limited staff, such as why they started where they did, as I recall, right, Ms. Romero, Deputy Superintendent Romero, to build at least a K-12 feeder and get that staff. Recruitment will continue to be an issue, and we want to continue to recruit. And I think as we have more staffing, that would be the goal, to be able to expand and offer it in more places for all the reasons that you said. There's a demand for it. Our parents want it, and I think it'll probably maybe be part of your continued, as you work in your strategic plan and free imagining gets weaved into it all, that would continue to be a priority. Because it was loud and clear from the parents, right? That was an important thing they wanted.
Well, and for example, coming out of reimagining, they started an after-school program at El Dorado, which in its first year was attended by like 10% of the student population, but it had a cost because we needed to pay for the teacher. And so because it's outside of school, because there's a cost, they offered scholarships when they were able, but we know that there's stigma about asking for scholarships. From an equity lens, I want that to be readily available and ideally during the school day to as many kids as possible. Thank you.
Okay, Vice President Noble.
I don't know whether I missed this at the beginning, but just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Garcia, as it's her last board meeting, and say, wow. I appreciate so much all you've done, and I guess it's been clear to me, and we can all tell our own version of what's happened over the past however many months that it's been, but it was no small thing to have someone who could guide this board through a superintendent search while doing a budget for the new fiscal year that is framed in such a way that there's some flexibility for what we need in this ever-changing and unpredictable world. And I think we have an incredibly smart budget in the way things are framed. I think we did a really high-quality process in searching for the superintendent, and as I think we all know, and many of the cabinet and principals and everybody involved in the schools know, it gets weird in spring, and with the wind, and who knows what causes all of it, but Dr. Garcia has done an incredible job of these two big tasks, plus keeping everything on track and the wheels on the bus, as we say. And I know you're not going away tomorrow, and I know you're not falling off the face of the earth after June 9th. And I certainly hope that we continue to have your wisdom and input for things like a strategic plan. And what you just said is always what I've hoped would happen, with that the tenets of reimagining are woven into the next strategic plan. I believe that was the principle we set out on a long time ago with reimagining. And honestly, I worry about how hard you work fairly actively, but I am continually in awe at how you make it look easy and weave the things together. And, there are any number of challenges that might break a lesser person, and again, you just roll right through them. So I just wanted to take a moment to say very publicly thank you on behalf of this community, myself, my student in the Santa Fe Public Schools, and all of us that really depend on this institution to be the rock that it is. You've been an incredibly steady hand, and I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, Vice President Noble. Mr. President, if I may, I just wanted to say what I told the board. It's been, my family said, and my friends, there was an extra spring in my step and an extra sparkle in my eye, and I never thought I would do this again. I don't have it in me to do it for the long haul, but it was amazing, and you also gave me a gift in giving me this opportunity to come and help. I love this district, as you all know, and I've really enjoyed the work. The bad part is I'm going to have to miss you all over again, and the team and everybody, because it's been wonderful just to be engaged in this way at this stage of my life. So thank you for the opportunity, and it was my honor to serve.
All right. We have advanced planning. We've got our graduations this week. So the first one being on the 21st, and then the 22nd and 23rd, and then on the 12th, we will have our first board meeting with our new superintendent.
And so, did you want me to help, or you want to go ahead with that?
No, you go ahead.
So you guys, I think that just due to travel and schedules for various board members, that meeting will be canceled. I think
On the
it's-
12th.
That meeting, it looks like we're canceling on the 12th and rescheduling for the 17th.
Yes, that's right.
But I need
Thank
to
you.
tell you a weird thing about the 17th, and that's what I was talking to Art Melendres about. And I remember the first time that happened. You have a board meeting with one single item. Do you remember that? And it's called a special board meeting to consider, this is the way it's stated, the necessity resolution, Santa Fe Schools, ETN 2025. And so that has to be a separate meeting. So once you decide on the time on the 17th, you would call to order that special meeting on the 17th, and then you'll have a study session on the 17th. And I think the major focus of the study session might be some bars, as well as a study session on the facilities master plan. And that'll be your first bite of the apple for that meeting. Then, I believe if you want a second bite at the apple to review to pass the facilities master plan or vote on it, would be July 10th. It seemed like that was possibly a date that would work for all board members.
The board meeting's going to be on the 17th?
If you all agree, you'll have a study session.
Wait.
You'll have two meetings on the 17th. You just got to pick the time. But it would be the special resolution first. You'll open and close, and then you'll open a study session. It'll be a separate meeting, but back to back. It's just odd. It's just a weird requirement. And then July 10th would be tentative, I guess, if you need another meeting to approve the facilities master plan.
Okay.
So the 17th is a Tuesday.
Yes.
Okay.
I have no time constraints. I'm for
I've
either.
actually looked at my calendar this time.
The 12th, I'm gone, so I'm glad we changed it.
There's three of us.
There were three of you
Yeah.
that were not going to be here on the 12th.
Okay.
Okay, so this, and on the 17th, what we generally do is 5:15 special meeting, 5:30 regular meeting, or we.
Because it's so short, I think that's going to work.
And that's what, I mean,
Check with-
Eric has it in the, it's
Yeah.
in the presentation, all about the 12th, or we could,
And I will contact him and let him know. They knew that it might be canceled, and I was telling Eric, not Eric, but Art Melendres. And actually, Art is the one that will be here for that anyway.
Okay.
and
All
then
right.
July 10th.
That's the third possibility. So we have,
That's a
just to be clear, we have the 17th, the special meeting, a necessity resolution, July 17th, the study session. So you're saying do one at 5 and one at 5:30?
Yeah, we've often done 5:15.
Oh, 5:15 and 5:30, okay.
On June 17th.
5:15 and 5:30. And then you would have, if needed, a regular board meeting on July 10th. Very good.
What about the meeting on the 26th? Nothing? Canceled? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So June 26th is, are you going to keep the meeting, no meeting on the 26th, so
No.
that's canceled? And the first board meeting for, that's the other part, the first board meeting for Superintendent Griffin would be the 17th, and so you might want to have a little reception for her then. And so Alma can work with you guys on that.
Okay, so we're gonna adjourn, but I would like for us to go down to the front with Dr. G and take a picture with all of us. We
Oh.
take pictures with everybody, and we haven't, we need to give you your own and for your
All right.
scrapbook.
I
I'm sure you
will.
have
I'll
a
keep
bunch,
it. I will
but
keep it.
one
Thank you.
more.
One more picture,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you.
With the staff, too. I'll just send you off with a memory of this, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's-
And your kind words.
Go back and listen to everybody else. Yeah, no, I didn't remember.
Those board meetings in Albuquerque in June?
I think so, yeah.
Do you know where you're staying?
I don't know if I'm gonna stay. I might just come back and forth.
Okay.